Live at Yidstock, we are together again. My name is Seth Rogovoy. I'm the artistic director of the Yidstock Festival, and I am here with my wonderful guest, Michael Winograd, who presumably you all probably just saw perform with his band. A most amazing, one of the greatest concerts ever, and 10 years of Yidstock, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Just a little bit of housekeeping. We're on a tight schedule here because Eleanor Reese's concert is at 5 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock right now. Want to get you out of here by 20 of 5 to give you time to, do whatever you need to do before and get your seats so Eleanor's concert can start on time. So we're going to have a little chit-chat up here for a while, and we'll hurry to turn it over to your questions. There's so many of you, and I'm sure you, after what you just heard, you probably have lots of questions for Michael. So we will be very limited, and I will have to shut things off at some point. So I will stop talking now, wasting time, and say hello, Michael.
Hello, Seth.
We did not plan the hat thing. It just happened.
This man has style.
So, Michael.
Yes.
I think I remember you as a wee child at KlezKamp in the late 1990s. Am I correct in that memory?
Okay, so a lot of people say that they remember me as a small child at KlezKamp. No, you don't remember me as a small child. You remember me as a teenager.
Yeah.
But you're not the only one. People are like, oh, you were tiny. I wasn't that young. I was a teenager at KlezKamp. But if you were there, then you would remember me.
Yes.
Yes. Because I was loud.
So I guess that's just a way of me trying to put a little context into where your musical history is. So you were a teenager already playing klezmer, interested in it, and studying with some of the great immigrant-era clarinetists who were still around at the time, who you mentioned Sid Beckerman in your concert. So can you just take us back to, then or even earlier and tell us your musical evolution, first how you became a player, what was the earliest music you got into, and then take us through in 5 or 10 minutes till tonight.
All right, yeah, I'm just going to start. I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm going to start that my parents are sitting right over there, and I'm going to give them all the credit that they want and that they deserve for driving me to. My mother drove me to KlezKamp. No, from Manhasset Hills, Long Island. How many people here from Manhasset Hills? I didn't ask Long Island. I said Manhasset Hills. I believe that you drove me to KlezKamp, and I believe that someone else was supposed to drive me back from KlezKamp, and I don't remember who they were. It's not true. I know who they were. No, Mom, this is not your talk, Mom. You have... Okay, everyone, if you could make a moment for my mother, Daryl Winograd.
We can't hear you. Could you speak louder?
They went on a cruise. I didn't want to go on the cruise because I wanted to go back to KlezKamp. Okay, I was in the middle of a story, Mom. So someone else was Mom! So I was I'm not, Dad, come on. All right, you'll learn things. Think twice before getting them comps. So someone else was supposed to drive me back to Great Neck, that's right. And they left without me. And I think I fell asleep on a couch at KlezKamp. And so Adrienne Cooper figured out how I was going to get home. She introduced me to Jill Gellerman, who was the dance teacher at KlezKamp, who taught Hasidic dance. And Jill lived in Forest Hills, and she gave me a lift back to Long Island. So I don't know what you asked, but that's where that question went.
I didn't actually ask anything about any of that, but that's okay because there's a great shtick with your mom and all. Thank you, and your check is in the mail. But music. When you were, a kid, what were you listening to?
Oh man, before klezmer, I don't know, everything. I liked jazz for a moment. I thought I was going to be a jazz saxophonist for a couple months there, but then I found klezmer music, and that became the thing.
So how
I
old
did.
were
I listened to a lot. I don't remember what I was listening to a ton of before, say, 13. I don't know. What was I listening to? Chazanist, yes. Apparently Chazanist is not true. But I could start at around 13 or 14. Definitely, it was like Dave Tarras and John Coltrane were the two, pretty good. I would say each, there's that story that Charlie Parker and Miles Davis used to drive up to the Catskills and listen to Dave Tarras. There's no way that's true. That never happened. That never happened. But this kid in Long Island definitely listened to a fair amount of John Coltrane and Dave Tarras.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was around 13 or 14 years old, and I got the bug, and KlezKamp was this amazing place. That I was able to, I started studying, I think at 14 or 15 with Sid Beckerman, who was amazing. I don't know how many folks know about Sid Beckerman. Yeah. So his father was Schloimke Beckerman, one of the great European-born clarinetists who came over to the States and was recording with the Abe Schwartz Orchestra. And Sid was only like not an amateur, but he was not a full-time professional musician in his heyday, and then the klezmer revival started.
He was a letter carrier, right?
He worked for the Postal Service, and then the klezmer revival started, and Pete Sokolow was told Henry Sapaznik, hey, Schlemke Beckerman's son is still playing and plays the occasional wedding and all this stuff, and it turned out that he was an amazingly generous teacher. And so many of us kind of went through the Beckerman, if you were around at that time. And luckily I showed up early enough for me, that I got to take in that. And I learned the basics from him. And a whole bunch of other great teachers there, a similar generation, Paul Pincus and Howie Leese, Danny Rubenstein. But Sid was really my entrance into the whole language.
Now, it's not the typical thing for teenagers of, in the 1990s to gravitate at that age to klezmer. What do you think about it drew you in?
The money.
That was a setup, by the way. He told me to ask that question.
Beer all week. I don't know. Why? Why do you get the bug for something? I think there's some cross-section between it being the sounds of your heritage and just a very exciting music. Because sure, there was, the kind of traditional world of it that I picked up at KlezKamp, but in New York City at the time, mid-90s was like the hot spot of the klezmer, of the experimental side of the klezmer revival, all the things that were going on in the Knitting Factory, and all of the great klezmer musicians of that time were trying new things and experimenting, and it was exciting for a young.
So it was a great time to be
yeah, it was a good time to be there.
Yeah.
And as a young person, and plus it's such a community, right? So it's like all these folks, these klezmer revivalists see a young person who wants to eat it up, they feed it to you, and they bring you backstage and drag you on stage. Margot Leverett was the one who dragged me on stage for the first time to play a dance set at KlezKamp with the pros.
Yeah.
And I was faking my way along on a saxophone, and it was great. So because they're such a generous community, and we try to, those of us who became professionals following them try to do the same for those younger than us. But it's once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing.
So talk about when you really started doing your own thing, when you were good enough and felt confident enough to get together with other people your age and
yeah. Well, there weren't a ton of people my own age, right, when I got into it, although the violinist Jake Schulmanment was there. and we met each other when we were teenagers, and still good friends today. But it felt like it took a couple years, probably into once I was in college. I went to the New England Conservatory where I studied with Hankus. I don't know if he's here, but he was here earlier. And at that point, started meeting a lot more people around my age who were playing the music. There was a kind of a collegiate thing going on, different klezmer bands at different colleges. There was an event called Klezmer Palooza. Yeah. It's not as catchy as Yidstock, but I would put it in a similar category, and of names, of festival names. And it was this intercollegiate klezmer event. So bands from, I don't remember all of them, but the Yale Klezmer Band was a thing in Columbia, and actually these great schools, Brown and Princeton, and then the New England Conservatory of Music. Which one doesn't fit in, right? But they were on our turf because there was like a music festival, so we felt really good about it. But met a lot of people there who then started going to places like KlezKamp and KlezKanada and those different community events. I could spout off for you a dozen people who I met at the first time that I went to that, who are Joey Weisenberg, who many of you probably know. We played together for years, and he's now, he's doing his crazy thing in Philadelphia. All the folks from the Klez Dispensers, Amy Zakar and Adrian Banner and Ben Holmes, who I still make music with all the time. So many, and then a whole bunch from New England Conservatory. Dan Blacksburg, who was playing with me today, Carmen, who was playing with me today. We all went to, and Richie, who's in the set coming up. Like at that time was when I started working and developing and experimenting with on my own music with people who were my age and who were had a similar kind of projected idea of what music could be and what this kind of music could be.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I know that you play other kinds of music too, or you're in some fusion bands.
I play in a Selena cover band. That's really fun. It's like 3 times a year we play all Selena tunes. That's great. Most of the rest of the time it's Freilichs and Chairs and Bulgars and stuff.
But Sandaraa.
Oh yeah, but that's got a lot of klezmer in it. So it's Zeb is a singer from Pakistan, and we've kind of found the points that our two musical traditions meet, and she's introduced me to a lot of music, and I've introduced her to a lot of music, and we've done a couple. We've gotten some Yiddish songs translated to Urdu. And now we're working on figuring out how to introduce those to the world. So, yeah, but most of the stuff that I do is klezmer related.
Yeah.
At the very least, klezmer adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
But most of it's just klezmer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I know you've gone in lots of different directions and continue to go in different directions with Yiddish music or klezmer. But in particular, I know that you've had a long-held fascination with that late 1950s sound, if I'm not mistaken, particularly where Dave Tarras and Sam Musiker were going at that time together. Can you talk about that? What is it about that sound, and tell the people a little, describe what it is and why you are so into it, and really, in a way, picking up where it left off and taking it to new places.
Well, it's very specific. It's from 1955 to 1959. It's a 4-year period, and I'm obsessed with it. It's probably an unhealthy musical obsession to just really zero into 4 years of music, of recorded music. But for me, what's really, and I don't think that it's not necessarily that the music being made then was so much stronger than the music that these artists were making beforehand. It wasn't. It was on par with it. But what it was that it was kind of the dawn. It was like the heyday of high fidelity recording, and it took the Jewish records a couple of years to kind of. They didn't progress. In the early 50s, you were already getting these amazing sounding jazz records and pop music records. It took klezmer and kind of all the record labels had like their ethnic divisions, right? They were putting out the different ethnic records, So you get the Jewish records, but along with the Greek records and the Italian records, and I think that the klezmer records, it took them a few years to catch up, but then all of a sudden there's this like group of half a dozen or so records recorded really well, and just the bands were on their game, and the players just sounded fantastic, and they really, took advantage of like the technology, basically.
Right.
And they started thinking about recording albums, and not just a collection of music, but actually, an album, something that had two sides and that had an arc to it. And that really, many of you probably know the record Tants from 1956, Dave Tarras and Sam Musiker. There's so many things, every time I listen to it, it's more exciting. And I think part of it is just that, like, both sides tell a story, and it's so well thought out, and and the compositions on it are so interesting, and they're both very much in the tradition, and they're really modernist, and they have and it came at such an interesting time, because then 1960, klezmer music was like asleep for 20 years. It was like the storm before the calm, these great records. So it's like Tants, of course, crown jewel of 1950s klezmer recordings, but also the Dukes of Freilichland, Mazel Tov, which is the Epstein brothers, put out this amazing record, which they themselves were not actually all that into, because they were forced to record a bunch. They didn't want to put their name on it, the Epstein brothers, because the producer of the record forced them to record Hava Nagila on it. That said, it's the best version of Hava Nagila you're going to hear. It's amazing. And Danny Rubenstein, The Happy People, I think either came in 59 or 60. There was the 3 records that Dave Tarras did. See, it's an obsession. Three records that he did with the Murray Lehrer Orchestra called Freilich and Hi-Fi, which was like everything was this and Hi-Fi, that and Hi-Fi on those record labels, right? Like you know what the back of the records looked like. The front had its cover, and the back listed all the other records that were put out on the label. And these records were incredible because they were programmatic, and they felt like albums in a way that earlier records didn't. And so, I just really, something about those records, I just go back to them all the time, and I think that I've tried to take them on as like a starting place for what I've been working on for a while now.
Now, in particular, Tons, which I'm most familiar with, they were, or at least Sam was, and I guess I don't know how Dave felt about it, but he was sort of dragging him into modern jazz, a little bit.
Well, it's interesting. It wasn't the first time that he did this with Tarras, and in fact, it worked a little bit better on Tants, but 10 years earlier, Tarras did a recording that didn't come out commercially, called, the collection ultimately is called Tarras, the Savoy Sessions. And it wasn't like Tarras at the Savoy. There was a record label in New Jersey, Savoy Records, that they were taking advantage. It was 1946, I think, and they were taking advantage of what was popular at the time. And they're like, what if Dave Tarras played with like a small big band, like a jazz orchestra? And at the time, Tarras's son-in-law was this hot-shot clarinetist, Sam Musiker, who was playing at the time in the Gene Krupa band, and was recording with, I think, Sarah Vaughan and and so arranged a whole program of music for like a 10-piece jazz orchestra behind Tarras. Amazing recordings. They only started to get released, on a compilation here, a compilation there, in the, starting in the 80s, I think. But so Tants was not the first time that Sam tried to do this. I think it's more successful on Tants, because it's not giving it big band textures. It's just using his all of his vocabulary to kind of enrich the sound, and it was a mix of, Sam brought in like his studio players, but then still had Tarras's drummer Irving Gratz on it. So it's like when they play klezmer dance tunes on it, it's it's the best, like nothing better, and the sound is great. Plus, it's just recorded in such a way that it feels like it's surround sound in a way. And I think that had to do with it was just really well recorded. And
Wasn't this on Columbia Records?
yeah, it was. Yeah, they recorded it at like the Columbia B studio, which I found out where the location of the studio was last year or 2 years ago, and so I walked over there. It's on it's like at 30th Street and 2nd Avenue or something like that in New York, and now it's a fancy schmancy condo called the Wilshire. I was like, they tore down the studio. Yeah, but and a couple of years ago, I went over to Ray Musiker's house. Ray Musiker was another one of my teachers from that generation. He is on tons. He's the third woodwind player. He's the younger brother of Sam, still around, 96 years old, still playing clarinet and writing tunes, sounding great. Back in 2019 in the summer, I spent a couple days with him, recording him and filming him and interviewing him. And told me Tance was recorded in one day. I'm just like,
wow.
Are you kidding me? One day? It takes me, it takes me so much longer to make records that are not nearly as good as that. It's like, that killed me. One day, and it's fantastic, yeah. So, Columbia.
So I came up with the name for your next album.
Oh, yeah?
The Wilshire Sessions.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Seth. That's gonna sell. What do you think of Shtick Shift? I'm working on that one right now. No, I'll think about the Wilshire Sessions. No, but here's what I was thinking, and you know a lot of people. You're a powerful guy. I want to get that block shut down for a day. I want to get that block shut down, and I want to set up a soundstage and play Tance on that block. We did Tance. I transcribed the whole record a couple of years ago, and we performed it. We were supposed to perform it here 2 years ago.
Right.
I've only performed it twice, once in Berlin and once in New York City, and it's crazy because all of a sudden you're in 1958 and you're like, oh, it's wild. But I had this idea that we would be able to shut down that block and play it in front of the Wilshire. So if you know anyone, the comptroller or something, I don't know who would have the.
As soon as I'm done here, I'm on the phone with Mayor Adams, and we're gonna.
Good luck with that. Yeah. If
Now,
you're friendly with the cops, then maybe he'll help you out. I say nothing.
Before we go to the audience, what I just want to do now is, we talked a lot about that era and those records and that sound. Let's connect that to, in a sense, what we just heard.
Yeah. So that, in the end, I mean, I gave you a lot of details about the recordings and where it happened and all that stuff. It's a sound. It's a sound that I really like, and it's an aesthetic that, klezmer, there's a lot to it, and it has a long history, so it doesn't all sound the same. No matter what your friends tell you, it doesn't. And there's different styles and different periods, and that one I really love. So for me, when I started working in this formation and we put out the Kosher Style album in 2019, and I was preparing that, I was like, I really want to just kind of zero in on that place with this kind of fantasy idea that it's like, all right, that kind of had to stop at 1960, and I'm going to it's marketing, come on, let's face it. We're picking up where they left off. It's not picking up where they left off, but just writing tunes and orchestrating the band and playing them in a style that I think fits in with the lineage of it. Yeah.
When you did that first,
Yeah.
when you're putting a specific group together to play in the style of, and you actually do it, did you learn things that you hadn't realized before?
Yeah, I especially when I was preparing the time that I did. I mean, I knew these players would be great at it. They all have kind of a similar affection for older things, but in a way that's not museum-y, but is like, oh, you could jump into it. But when I was orchestrating, I was it was a similar time when I think I orchestrated the parts for Kosher Style before I did the parts for Tance. But it was really interesting, like, I think, even though I hadn't done that work yet, of like listening that carefully and writing it out, think I was thinking about those textures and stuff a lot. And so, I mean, on the Kosher Style album, there is just, I lifted textures from the, I mean, I should pay somebody for that. You know, there's got to be someone in the Musiker family who's, you know, should be making something off of my work, but
Lee
they're gonna have to, no, don't.
Don't go there. He doesn't need it.
Yeah, I know, Lee is doing just fine. So Ray's son Lee, Lee Musiker, is Tony Bennett's pianist. He's like one of the greatest pianists on the planet. So he's
Yeah,
doing fine.
he's all right.
He's doing okay.
Okay. Anything else about Honorable Mention, or should we just...
No, I mean, they, you know, available for, you know, simchas. Reasonable rates.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is a good time to open it up to the house. So raise your hands, and I'll call on you.
Thank goodness.
In the back. Let's fast forward to the question.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. I believe so. What's great is that there's, you know, the places to learn this and to soak it up, the kind of culture hubs for it that places like KlezCamp started have been picked up and spread to you know, other you know, similar events have taken up the mantle. KlezKanada, where I was artistic director for 5 years, has a very significant scholarship program, which is wonderful, and that's where a lot of young people are able to access this music. There's programs in Europe, there's programs in North and South America. I think that we learned during the pandemic with virtual programs that there's more people in more places than we knew about. That said, I would be lying to you if I said that I believe that everything is healthy about this and that it is a music that is in very good shape and has a bright future that don't worry, we don't need anyone's help. The scene and the world that makes this music absolutely needs the support of the people who love it and of the places from which it comes. I think it's been a struggle for every klezmer musician I've ever met to find support in the overall Jewish world, you know, in mainstream Jewish settings and all of that. And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I feel like I get the question a lot, and it's usually word for word. So, klezmer, alive and well? And I say alive, but questionable in its wellness. I think that a couple of things that were very promising and encouraging during the pandemic with some of these virtual programs is that the community that plays the music and perpetuates the music is very dedicated to the community and will go out of its way to work for it nonstop until we know that the things are happening. But it still is difficult for klezmer musicians to make a living. I know that me and my band, we're the lucky ones. You know, we actually get to work and do this stuff. So I don't have a great I don't know what to tell you about what everyone should do, but I can't just give the answer that the answer is yes, it's going great. It's maybe not the most satisfying answer in the world, but it's good. We love the music, and everyone loves it. But anyway, that's a fascinating question, and it comes up a lot. And the answer you want to give is, yeah, it's doing great, it's wonderful, but it's doing good. But it can always use more,
Right,
and
right.
so.
I just want to interject one thing that I didn't hear you mention, and it's perhaps out of your incredible sense of modesty and your humility, and that is the YNY, Yiddish New York program, which you were a co-founder, artistic director of, or
Co-founder, and
Okay.
there is and there's it's another great offshoot, I would say, of KlezCamp, if you look at it that way. We started when KlezCamp finished, so it has its own flavor because it takes place in New York. Right. It was another one of the really successful pandemic era virtual programs. The Yiddish New York program, along with KlezKanada and some others. For me, those are the two that I was most involved with. Were wildly successful as virtual programs. People were starving for culture and for community, and they were able to find it there, and that was amazing. We'll see what these things mean now that they're coming back in person.
Right.
It's difficult. It's not easy. There's a lot of challenges, but nonetheless, yes, these places exist. The community is very strong that puts these on, but it's always an uphill battle to an extent.
And thank you all for being here, because this is, partly what we are trying to do and have been for 10 years with Yidstock. Present it in a way which is utterly respectful and authentic, and gives you and gives the musicians a place that they can call home for a weekend and try new things out. Like you just heard. Anyway, back to you. Yes, right there.
I wanted to ask you about something that you do that not a lot of people get to see, which is your work as a record producer.
Okay.
And sort of what do you feel about the other work that you do that sort of prepares you for that role? Which is it's different from being a band leader. It's different from being a musician. It's its own thing.
Okay. Ask the question one more time.
As a record producer,
Mm-hmm.
someone who works with not just your own stuff, but
Yeah.
other bands,
Mm-hmm.
what sort of
Okay.
what do your other work sort of feel like you prepared?
I don't know that I have a very direct answer to that question. I feel like you've been in the room with me as I've produced records. It's almost like you're It's almost like you're a recording engineer who I've known for 20 years, who engineered maybe the first record I ever made. It's almost like you were there.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I saw you at point A and
Yeah, you did.
B, and there was something that happened.
The first record that I ever produced was in 2009 was Enchanted by Adrienne Cooper. And she could have hired other people to produce that record. She could have hired people who knew how to produce records. But she trusted me, and I learned a lot from making that record. And I learned more from making that record than most other things I've learned from. And I think that it's kind of the thing, the more you do, the more you find out. It's a very specific set of skills. Production means a million things. Production, you could be really steering the entire project. You could be arranging everything. Production could also just mean you're walking in and saying, that take wasn't as good. That take was. But I think that it's if you had to narrow it down, it's you're helping the music, really the physical music, come together at its best. But you're also figuring out what you need to do to get the musicians to work together and be their most successful in a space. And the second part is significantly more difficult, as you can imagine. First part, if you have your arranging skills and you know what it's going to sound like, and you know the musicians that you're using and what their skills are and what their strengths are, then gonna know what to do in terms of the writing. But the second part is always different. Every time you're dealing with a different situation. And so it's like the first 3 or 4 hours is kind of, you're trying to get a lay of the land and figure out, okay, this person needs this person needs this. That musician should have their own space. Or these two, oh, they really bounce well off of each other and all this kind of thing. And you figure out what mishagats they're dealing with already that you need to kind of, it's a very interesting process. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love being in that role. And the fact that, I don't know, 10 or 12 that I've done it that amount of times over the years, and those people have trusted me to help them make records. I'll never understand why they did, but I thank them for it. It's really helped me in producing my own records. I've learned a lot from just being on site. But Adrian's record really was where I kind of picked up a whole bunch of skills doing that, and so she will have my gratitude forever for that. That was a big risk on her part.
Right. There was a question back there somewhere. Yes, right, you.
Yes. Well, okay, so the story is, David was this. Initially, I was going to make a video that was supposed to look for David and Goliath 1, that I was going to try to film what would have been a scene from this old movie, the grade B Yiddish movie, David and Goliath, that flopped. And I was talking with Dan Kahn about being David and Joanne Bortz being Goliath. And I was going to have Josh Woletsky be this scholarly filmmaker that he is, talk about it. And we were going to say, oh, the movie that never, and show parts of it. And then we found the score. We found the score to the soundtrack. And then I realized, it's really not that funny. And it was not, but we were already touring the thing and had been on the record. And so I started telling, instead of saying that, like, we found the score for this movie it shows, I started just telling, okay, I had a really bad idea that I was going to tell you that we found this score. Well, it's time for the second record, and it was very clear that the secondary theme. Dan, what did you say? You said that there was a specific moment that was in the film.
So you know about act 1, act 2, at the end of act 2 of the movie, that's always when the hero is like at their worst. So like, secondary theme of David and Goliath is like after the first major defeat, and it's like everybody's like,
Oh, right. You said it was like a David walking away, solemn, right?
Hand in his hands, like what are we
He just, yeah. So now the interesting part is when we were in the session, we're like, what's next for David and Goliath? Because, the one movie only has so many themes to it. Usually you have like the primary, the secondary, and tertiary theme of a soundtrack. So, I'm not going to write the fourth and fifth theme. So you could get one more out of that film. There had to be a sequel or a prequel that would require scoring. And I think it was Will who said that Son of David and Goliath would be the next logical step. So the saga is far from complete, and with the proper funding from all of you by buying the records, you might just see another David and Goliath theme. Thank you for the question.
And on that
Appreciate
note,
it. Oh, please, yeah, that's a great
Michael,
great ending.
thank you so much for your music,
My
for being
pleasure.
here, and for the amazing work you do just on this entire Yiddish klezmer music scene. You're really like one of the gems and one of the people who works hardest and keeps it going, and you're so creative yourself. So please give a huge round of applause.
Thank you. Hold your applause. Thanks. Thank you, Seth.
You're welcome.
Good stuff.